The crypto market just hit a major turning point. After years of waiting and speculation, we're now looking at the official approval of the first Solana spot ETF, expected to be announced this Wednesday. But this isn't just another ETF. It includes staking rewards, opening the door to a whole new model of ETF investment that blends Wall Street with on-chain yield. The ripple effect from this is already sending shockwaves across the altcoin space. Solana isn't just joining the ETF club. It is potentially kicking off the next major altcoin supercycle. Analysts are calling this the moment that altcoins are finally getting their seat at the institutional table. This changes the game. If Solana can break through the floodgates, they may open for others. XRP, Cardano, Litecoin, Dogecoin, even meme coins like Pengu. We are on the edge of an ETF domino effect that could completely reshape crypto investor flow and bring in trillions in traditional capital. Welcome back to JRNY TV, the home of crypto insights that actually matter. I'm Nick, and in this episode, we're going to be diving deep into this week's biggest development, the Salana ETF approval, and what that means for altcoin season, the next ETF wave, and your portfolio strategy. Make sure you stick around to the end because we're also breaking down which 5 altcoins are most likely next in line, how far along that they are in the ETF pipeline, and why you need to prepare right now before retail FOMO kicks in hard. Salana ETF approval. The new era begins. The long-anticipated Solana ETF is on the verge of becoming a reality, with approval expected as early as this Wednesday. That's right. This would mark the first non-Ethereum altcoin to secure a spot ETF in the US, a massive leap forward for crypto legitimacy. What's even more game-changing is that this ETF reportedly includes staking yield, meaning investors, they could earn passive income directly through their fund. That's something no Bitcoin or Ethereum ETF currently offers, giving Solana a very serious edge in the competition for institutional capital. So Solana has had a monstrous year already, and they've already had one of the fastest growing ecosystems in crypto, and it dominates the meme coin and DeFi trenches with platforms like Pump.Fund and Jupiter, with major institutional players like VanEck pushing for approval, and even BlackRock showing interest in Solana-related financial products. This ETF approval, it could open the floodgates for even more mainstream and institutional adoption. Solana's reputation for low fees, high speed, and a thriving community makes it an attractive pick for investors that are looking beyond Bitcoin and Ethereum. This ETF is being framed not just as a win for Solana, but for the entire altcoin market. A successful Solana ETF, it would set a legal and regulatory precedent for other altcoins to shortly follow. This signals that regulators, they are beginning to distinguish utility-based layer 1 networks from unregistered securities, finally, potentially shifting the tone of crypto oversight moving forward. And with Solana's mainstream momentum and clear use cases, the approval comes at the perfect time, right as traditional financial institutions are hunting for the next big crypto allocation. If the ETF is officially greenlit this week, we could in fact see a surge of retail and institutional FOMO like never before, pushing SOL back to new all-time highs while igniting a fire under other altcoin ecosystems. But more importantly, this creates a blueprint. The question is, which projects are most likely to follow Solana's path to ETF status? That's exactly what we're going to cover next. The ripple effect, which altcoins are next for their own ETF. With the Solana ETF likely to be approved, the spotlight is now turning toward the next wave of altcoins that could follow. A successful Solana ETF opens the door for a broader class of crypto assets to then gain institutional legitimacy, potentially massive retail exposure. This is the kind of domino effect that could kickstart a full-blown altcoin season. So, which projects are next and lined up? Let's take some time to break down the top contenders and why they're gaining traction in ETF discussions and regulatory circles. First up is the one and only XRP. With Ripple's partial legal victory over the SEC and its growing use in global payments, XRP remains one of the most obvious candidates for an ETF. Several legal analysts have now said XRP's status as not a security when traded on exchanges is a huge green light for institutional backing. Ripple has been expanding rapidly into regions like the Middle East and Southeast Asia, and if its case continues to go in its favor, an XRP ETF may not be far behind, especially with its cross-border utility narrative appealing to traditional finance. Next up is Cardano, one and only ADA. Cardano is another major layer 1 that could be next. What gives ADA a shot is its strong fundamentals, one of the most decentralized blockchains, constant development, and the recent buzz that's around the midnight airdrop. Its academic approach to development also makes it more palatable to regulators. Don't be too surprised if a Cardano ETF proposal hits the horizon soon. Then there's Litecoin, often called the digital silver to Bitcoin's gold. With its long history, regulatory clarity, and its inclusion in Grayscale's trust products, Litecoin has always been ETF friendly. Plus, its similarity to Bitcoin's Coinbase and halving cycle makes it an easy transition for traditional investors who are already familiar with Bitcoin mechanics. Analysts believe Litecoin is low-hanging fruit for ETF approval in the US and internationally. Dogecoin is up next, and it is a wild card, but don't write it off. Elon Musk's ongoing memes and sell endorsements combined with Dogecoin's mainstream brand recognition keep it very relevant. With potential integration into X payments, it could shift from a joke to a serious contender. Retail demand alone could justify an ETF, especially if meme assets become a trend in TradeFi product offerings. And finally, we have a dark horse, Pengu. The Solana-based meme coin has exploded in popularity and has been gaining attention for its community engagement and virality. Filings for Pengu have started to circulate, and while it's definitively speculative, we have seen crazier things happen. If the market does go full risk on, meme ETFs could become the next hot niche, and Pengu could lead that charge. Perfect storm. Altcoin ETFs, Bitcoin momentum, and the 2025 bull run. If you've been around since the last bull run in 2021, you're going to remember how quickly things can go from quiet to absolutely insane. Now, imagine combining that kind of frenzy with the legitimacy of ETF approvals, as well as institutional money flooding into not just Bitcoin, but also top altcoins. That's the perfect storm that we might be heading into right now. The Solana ETF is likely to be the first domino of many, and as these altcoin ETFs gain traction, we're looking at a massive new wave of retail and institutional interest that's hitting this space all at once. And what makes this even more bullish is the timing. Bitcoin is already pushing past $100,000 and showing strong momentum. This gives the market an anchor, and when Bitcoin is strong, it sets the stage for altcoins to outperform. And when new ETFs get approved, they act like a spotlight, drawing both retail and institutional investors into projects that they may not have even considered before. These funds tend to simplify the access, reduce the friction for TradeFi money, and give legitimacy to coins that were once seen as too risky. We also cannot overlook how ETF narratives capture the attention of mainstream media and casual investors. During the 2021 run, coins like ADA, DOGE, and XRP all saw massive surges, not just because of fundamentals, but because they were part of the conversation. The ETF angle brings them back into the spotlight, except this time with real institutional vehicles and potentially billions with a B in liquidity waiting on the sidelines. So the key takeaway here, we are heading right now into a potential historic moment for crypto. If ETF approvals keep rolling in while Bitcoin remains strong, it will not take long for altcoins to go vertical. And that means right now is your window to get prepared. Dial in your strategy and decide where exactly you want to be with your exposure. Because once the wave starts, you're either riding it or watching it from the sidelines. Prepare now or get left behind. If history tells us anything, it's that the biggest gains in crypto come to those who are positioned before the madness begins. We are right now entering a window where ETF approvals, institutional adoption, and mainstream momentum are all aligning in the perfect storm like never before. Altcoin season doesn't wait around for anyone. So when it takes off, it moves fast. Prices spike, narratives shift, and by the time the average investor realizes what's happening, the best entries are already way gone. This is why preparation is everything. Now is the time, right now, to review your portfolio, identify potential ETF candidates, and to learn more about coins like XRP, Cardano, Litecoin, and Dogecoin, and maybe even newer contenders like Pengu. Don't forget about Pengu. Study all of their fundamentals, keep track of ETF filings, and monitor how the market is reacting in real time. If you're not already plugged into the communities like Trade Hero, this is your signal to get in. Staying informed, sharing strategies, and seeing what others are buying early can make all the difference. Also, make sure that you have a solid entry and exit strategy. You don't want to chase green candles or FOMO into every headline. Be sure to decide what your risk tolerance is before getting in. Determine your profit-taking zones. And please set your alerts. But most importantly, do not underestimate how much hype matters. Coins that trend on social media or get ETF buzz even before official approval can pump massively just off of good old speculation. This moment isn't just about hype, it's about being strategically positioned when that opportunity knocks at your door. The Salana ETF is opening that door, and it could lead to one of the most exciting altcoin seasons that we have ever seen, but only the prepared will be able to capitalize on it. And that's a wrap for today's deep dive into the upcoming Solana ETF and what it could mean or meme for the rest of the altcoin market. Whether it's XRP, Cardano, Dogecoin, or even Pengu, one thing is clear. We are now entering a phase where institutional interest is merging with retail excitement. And that perfect storm of a combination can set the stage for a truly explosive altcoin season. So if you're sitting on the sidelines, now is the time to start planning your moves before the next wave takes off. If you found this breakdown helpful, do not forget to hit that like button, subscribe to JRNY TV, and drop a comment below to let us know which altcoin ETF you think will be approved next. And if you're serious about staying ahead of that herd or that curve, get access to your exclusive strategies, early calls, and the best crypto community out there, and join us in Trade Hero today. We've got a ton more content coming, so turn on those notifications, and as always, stay safe, stay early, and we will catch you in the next one.